Kick off summer with Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Right now, get 5 Scott's Naturescapes 1.5 cubic foot mulch bags for just $10. Plus, get up to 40% off select major appliances and save an extra $50 on every $500 you spend on select major appliances $396 or more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 5/28. Mulch offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From the Queen Casino, downtown Baton Rouge, welcome to the Memorial Day edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. It is Selection Monday for the NCAA baseball tournament. The ESPN show just getting started right now. We'll let you know as things go along today. We'll have some immediate reaction to where LSU is headed. By now, you got a pretty good idea of what has happened over the weekend. Vandy wins the SEC tournament. They are the likely number 1 seed when we get started here in a few minutes. And we figure that there could be 6 SEC teams in the top 8 national seeds. That includes LSU, who we expect to be somewhere 5, 6, or 7 in these national seeds. Most recent field of 68 projections by the guys at D1 Baseball and Baseball America both have the Tigers comfortably in the top 8. Feels like that there are 7 teams that are pretty much a lock for the top 8 seeds. Vandy, Georgia, Auburn, Texas, Arkansas, North Carolina, and LSU. Now, the 8th spot, that's going to be a little bit tricky. Could be Oregon State, the independent, who maintain their 11 division or Q1 wins. Could be Coastal Carolina, who swept through not just the Sun Belt regular season, but also the Sun Belt tournament. Could be Clemson, who put on a late surge. Could be Oregon, who was pretty good down the stretch, lost 1 game in the Big Ten tournament, but saw their RPI kind of plummet inexplicably over the last, say, 36 hours. So the SEC with a record 8 host sites. We know that that came through last night. Ole Miss, with that charge all the way to the SEC tournament final, got themselves a host site. So did Tennessee with their wins in the SEC tournament, got themselves in. The one big SEC loser, we think, for the weekend, probably the Kentucky Wildcats, who went in to the tournament on the bubble, lost their first game, and then saw some bid stealing going on. Western Kentucky out of Coosa, Cal Poly out of the Big West, and Nebraska out of the Big Ten may have done them in. That was the last spot that was claimed. Nebraska wouldn't have gotten in otherwise. Top 8 national seeds coming out right now. Vanderbilt at number 1, 42 wins, 16 losses, and with the 3 wins in the SEC tournament, tied Texas for total SEC wins with 22. Texas Longhorns are the number 2 seed. After losing their ace, they held up in the second half of the season. Arkansas, the Razorbacks, very consistent throughout the season. SEC, 20 wins. They are the number 3 national seed. Auburn, with that high RPI at number 3, they are the number 4 national seed. North Carolina, champions of the ACC tournament, come in at the number 5 seed. LSU, the number 6 seed at 19-11 in the SEC. And with 1 win in the SEC tournament. Georgia is the number 7 national seed that gives the SEC the 6 that we were talking about. And Oregon State, the Beavers, who have not played a game since May the 19th, come in as the number 8 seed. That was the biggest question mark for me coming in. Would it be Oregon State? Would it be Coastal Carolina? Would it be Oregon? Would it be Clemson? It is Oregon State, who had the challenge of playing as an independent and having to schedule enough games to where their strength of schedule got up to number 42 in the country, not being in a conference, plus the weather challenges that you have trying to get in. Very, very difficult for Oregon State, but they were able to get through and secure a top 8 national seed. Now, we're looking at some of the other host sites as the bracket starts to come out here. And, again, we're having some problems with our internet and phone lines here today, so we are operating off of a straight phone line. We apologize. We want to get the information to you. Vanderbilt, the number 1 seed in the Nashville Regional. They'll play Wright State Raiders as the number 4 seed. A very possible, as we look at these potential sites that could be paired with LSU. Clemson right now would be my best guess as to who is paired with LSU, the number 6 seed. That number 6 seed just came through here. We're watching the rest of the Nashville Regional. East Tennessee State going in there, along with Wright State, Vandy, and Louisville. Louisville, the number 2 national seed, number 2 seed, in the Nashville Regional. Showing Louisville right now, they look less than pleased. Vanderbilt's playing great baseball right now. They're playing really strong towards the end of the season, and, well, that's a really, really tough place. You're going to see J.D. Thompson, their ace, who's been next to unhittable at home. So going to Vandy right now, a really, really tough spot. Number 16 seed, we had to guess. We'll find this out in just a second, but I'm thinking it's either Southern Miss or UCLA. It will be Southern Miss. Golden Eagles in Hattiesburg got that national seed. Southern Miss with a record of 44-14. Number 16 seed Golden Eagles. Of course, LSU's been to that regional before. That's a really, really good program. Let's see who they send to Hattiesburg. Columbia, the Ivy League, goes in there as the number 4 seed. The Columbia Lions taking on Southern Miss. We're having the bracket reveal right there with you. If you're driving, if you're hanging out, we're going to have some reaction. We've got some guests planned for the second hour of the show, but right now it's just about the bracket reveal. The Southern Miss and Columbia. Miami, the Hurricanes, at 31-24, go in there as the 2 seed. Miami, the number, let's see, where the RPI was all the way down to 40. Hurricanes did not finish particularly strong this season. They lost in the ACC tournament game 1. They lost their final series to Notre Dame. They were swept by Virginia the week before that. So Miami kind of limping in. And the 2 seed, Miami's actually the 3 seed because the 2 seed is Alabama. Last thing I want to see if I'm a host site is an SEC team that is coming to my bracket as a number 2 seed. So Alabama, there's 13 RPI heading to Southern Miss. So that's a tough draw for the Golden Eagles. Miami did not finish strong, but that's still a historical program. They're playing out of the ACC. That's a really tough 3 seed. And then Alabama at number 2. The one thing Alabama lacks is a real hammer at the number 1 pitcher spot, but that's a really good offensive team. And you get to Riley quick in game number 2. That'll be tough for Southern Miss. So Vandy, Louisville, East Tennessee State, and Wright State in the number 1 hole. Southern Miss, Alabama, Miami, and Columbia in the next spot. Now they're going to go to Tallahassee, the number 9 seed, Florida State. This was another team that we should have mentioned them in the open as a possible top 8 national seed. Obviously, they just missed here, 38-14. This is also good news that they don't face LSU. They've got Jamie Arnold, top 10 pick in next month's draft as their number 1 pitcher. Not wild about seeing him. Bethune-Cookman, who won the SWAC tournament, is in as your number 4 seed. They will play Florida State in the first game in Tallahassee. The Seminoles, the 9 seed. 3 seed there is Mississippi State. That's Pico Cone as their number 1 pitcher. Pico Cone against Jamie Arnold in a marble game would be really something. That's if Mississippi State can hold him. Not really sure they can. Not can afford to do that. Northeastern, the Huskies at 48-9. If you're wondering what Northeastern is doing up this high, they have not lost a game in almost 2 months. Their last loss was on April the 6th. Since then, they have won, let me see what I got this straight, 18, no, that's not right. How many games is this in a row now? 3, 6, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 straight for Northeastern. That's why they are a number 2 seed. No, they have not played a great schedule, obviously. They're only 2-3 against Q1, but, I mean, you win that many games in a row, you're doing something right. They're matched with the regional in Corvallis, number 8 seed, Oregon State. Again, the Beavers have not played a game since May the 19th, so they'll go almost 2 full weeks without playing a game. Played as an independent this year, no conference tournament, but they did manage to accumulate 11 Q1 wins. I'm going to ask Hunt Palmer if I can unfollow Hawaii baseball now that Oregon State had those wins count as Q1. They'll play St. Mary's in the first game. St. Mary's 35-24. The Gales will be the 4 seed in Corvallis. All right, moving right along here. Give me some water. Yeah, we're good. The Corvallis Regional USC going in there as the number 3 seed. Trojans 35-21. And a 2 seed heading out to Corvallis. LSU's been to this regional before as well. You're going to get some really nice weather. TCU probably was the team that going into yesterday that probably had the 16 national seed. They lost in the Big 12 tournament championship game to Arizona. That may have cost them a host site. So they're going to go to Corvallis to play Oregon State. TCU, an 18 RPI. They were right there on that bubble to host. They fall off the bubble after losing in the Big 12 championship game to Arizona. All right, so it's Oregon State, St. Mary's, USC, TCU, Florida State, Northeastern, Mississippi State, and Bethune-Cookman. Can't wait to see if State throws Pico Cone against Northeastern. That'll be an interesting matchup in number 1. All right, we go to the regional at Chapel Hill. North Carolina, number 5 seed, strong down the stretch. UNC won their series at Florida State and then steamrolled through the ACC tournament. Tar Heels at 42-12 as the number 5 national seed. Holy Cross headed into Chapel Hill. Crusaders at 31-25. That RPI for Holy Cross way down. They get in as an automatic. One of the lower RPIs, I believe, that'll be in this entire tournament. Holy Cross at 136. Let's see who they send there. Nebraska, the bid stealer out of the Big Ten. The Cornhuskers, the number 3 seed in Chapel Hill. Their win yesterday in the Big Ten championship game, kind of a home game for them, playing it in Omaha. That may very well have knocked Kentucky out of this tournament. Nebraska, the 3 seed. They will play Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the 2 seed. Kyson Witherspoon, the top 5 pick, likely going number 1 for Oklahoma. Throw him in game 1. After that, drops off pretty considerably for Oklahoma. The 2 and 3 pitchers, Crossland and Witherspoon's younger brother, Malachi, not nearly as good as Kyson, but we'll see how Oklahoma decides to play that pitching. North Carolina's as hot as any team in the country right now. Again, going to Tallahassee, beating Jamie Arnold in game 1 of that series, taking that series in Tallahassee, and then going through the ACC tournament the way they did. Nobody playing any better than North Carolina right now, the number 6 RPI and the number 5 national seed. They're matched up with the regional in Eugene, number 12 Oregon. The Ducks playing, of course, now out of the Big Ten. A lot of people thought going as late as Friday that Oregon would be a top 8 national seed. Well, they get in at number 12. Utah Valley, the Wolverines, are your 4 seed there in Eugene. Again, it's the regional is matched up with North Carolina. Cal Poly, another one of the bid stealers. They came out of the Big West, 41-17. They are the 3 seed in Eugene. And the 2 seed, Arizona, 39-18. Jay Johnson's former team, the Wildcats, headed to Eugene as the number 2 seed. Arizona, number 27 RPI. 12 Q1 wins, which is about as many as anybody outside of the top 15 or so. That'll be a very nice matchup. The former Pac-12 rivals, Oregon and Arizona, in the same bracket. So Oregon matched up with North Carolina. It's North Carolina, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Nice football matchup. And Holy Cross Oregon, Arizona, Cal Poly, and Utah Valley are your regionals 5 versus 12. Now we go to the Conway Regional. This is Coastal Carolina. Chanticleers were in position for a top 8 national seed potentially. They fall out there 48-11. They won both the regular season and the tournament. They will play Fairfield, the Stags, in the first game there, the 4 seed. Coastal Carolina had their RPI all the way up to number 8, but only 5 Q1 wins, likely hurting them in this. East Carolina, the Pirates keep the streak going under Cliff Godwin. They had to win the American Tournament final yesterday to get in. They beat Tulane, and they get in. They keep that streak going. East Carolina, under former LSU assistant Cliff Godwin, had to win yesterday. They did. They finished the regular season at 33-25. The Florida Gators headed to Conway as the number 2 seed, 38-20. Florida, for a while there, was about as hot as anybody in the country. They cooled off just a touch in the last week, but still, they had a season-ending series win against Alabama. They were 1-1 in the SEC tournament. They lost a 3-1 game to Ole Miss. Florida has actually playing themselves. They could have easily been in that Ole Miss spot. If they win that game, it was a 3-1 game. If they win that game instead of lose it, well, maybe they get that host spot that Ole Miss got. They'll be matched up with the Auburn Regional. Auburn Tigers, number 4 national seed, 38-18. They're number 3 RPI. They've got 16 Q1 wins, which was fourth in the country. They will play Central Connecticut, 31-15. The Central Connecticut State Blue Devils, 31-15, going as a 4 seed at Auburn. It'll be a touch hotter on the Plains than it is in Connecticut. I'm just guessing here. Number 3 seed at Auburn will be Stetson. The Hatters in at 40-20. Stetson on the season with an RPI that was in the 50s, I believe. No, in the 60s. Excuse me, 63. They'll play NC State. The Wolfpack at 33-19. The 2 seed at Auburn. So North Carolina State, the 2 seed, Stetson, the 3 seed, Central Connecticut, the 4 seed, going to Auburn. Again, if you're just joining us late, we are operating on just a straight phone line for the moment as we work through some technical problems here. But LSU is the number 6 national seed. We're thinking that they're going to be matched up with Clemson, is our best guess when that comes out here in just a second. But right now we're moving through the bracket. So Coastal Carolina, Florida, East Carolina, Fairfield, and Conway, Auburn, NC State, Stetson, and Central Connecticut in Auburn, Alabama. And I believe we are halfway through the bracket. I believe they're going to take a break. And we will take a break as well. We'll do that right now. We'll come back here and give you the second half of the bracket, including LSU's regional matchup when we return here live to Queen, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, as we continue looking at the brackets, let's get to the Austin Regional. The number 2 national seed, Texas Longhorns, will be matched up with Houston Christian. Houston Christian comes in as the number 4 seed. So the 2 and 3 seeds in that one, Kansas State will be the 2 seed, and Texas San Antonio. I'm not sure they don't have that. Maybe Texas San Antonio is a 2 seed there, but Kansas State is the 3 seed, and so they will be matched up in that one. Texas San Antonio rolled through there, but not in the tournament because there was a bid stealer. East Carolina, Tulane got all the way to the final, and East Carolina with an RPI of close to 70 entering that game yesterday. Tulane closer to 100. The winner of that one stole a bid in yesterday's final. East Carolina, by the way, in that final, but the Wave made quite a run. So Texas, the number 2 national seed, they're going to be matched up with their number 15 national seed. UCLA is going to host UCLA, co-champions out of the Big Ten this year. They were the runners-up in the Big Ten tournament. Nebraska, another bid stealer, won that one at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. They're going to be matched up with Fresno State. Fresno State is the 4 seed going to UCLA, and in one of those bubble teams that got in, maybe one of the last teams in, it was D1 projections. Arizona State, the Sun Devils, Willie Bloomquist, getting into avoiding multiple seasons in a row of not getting into the tournament. So Arizona State does get in, and they'll be matched up with UC Irvine. And UC Irvine was comfortably in this tournament, so they're the number 2 seed in that bracket. So UCLA, Fresno State, Arizona State, and UC Irvine. So UCLA will be matched up with Texas. We know that Vandy overtook Texas for the number 1 national seed. They will be matched up with Southern Miss. We knew Southern Miss would be close to hosting. They do get the host, but the last seed should get the host. They'll be matched up with the Nashville Super Regional if Vandy does advance. So, of course, Vandy overcame the everyone in the RPI. The regular season RPI, they are number 1. Texas fell down to number 4. The number 10 seed matched up with the Athens Regional. Georgia, the number 7 national seed. The Ole Miss Rebels. The Rebels who made a run and secured their host site and comfortably in. So a lot of people had them. D1 had them matched up with LSU. Would have been a 7-10, but LSU got up to the 6. So they avoid that all SEC potential super regional. But the Rebels will be matched up in Oxford against Murray State. Murray State at 39-13, the 4 seed. The number 3 seed will be Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, getting in an at-large bid here. And then the number 2 seed in the Oxford Regional will be the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The Yellow Jackets, the regular season champions out of the ACC. They were knocked out by Clemson in the ACC semifinal. Clemson then ran out of gas against North Carolina. It was all Tar Heels in that one. But the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they will be a formidable number 2 seed in that Oxford regional. So waiting on LSU, see who they're matched up with the Super. Has the 11 seed right now. Vandy's the number 1 national seed. Southern Miss is a 16 seed. So those regionals will be paired. And for the Super Regional, Texas, again, we thought that the regular season champion by multiple games would be ahead of them, but so Missouri, Texas only played Missouri. Vanderbilt did not, so they avoided Missouri, so that helped their RPI. You avoid them. There's no doubt about that. The Georgia Bulldogs, the number 7 national seed, and they get to play in that launching pad in Athens. They are all offense. They swing for the fences, and they're going to take on the Binghamton Bearcats. The Bearcats are coming in as the number 4 seed in the Athens Regional. Again, Georgia, number 7. That is one of 6 national seeds from the SEC. Vandy, Texas, Arkansas, Auburn, 1 through 4, LSU 6, and Georgia 7. Oklahoma State at just 28-23 goes to, out of the Big 12, goes to the Athens Regional, and then Duke, who's been pretty good, and they've had a good run the last couple of years, the Blue Devils, in postseason play. So they went to the Super Regional last year. Duke will be the number 2 seed in the Athens Regional. So the only one we're waiting on the 11 and 14 sites and to see who LSU is matched up with. Like I said, I wonder how much the committee dinged up if it was that close to Texas losing their ace starter, and kind of how they flattened out since that, where they've had to move everybody up, and including Ruger Riojas. And so I will here we go. So now we see who comes to Baton Rouge. And of course, LSU is the number 6 national seed, advancing to the semifinal. You would think Johnson just wanted to avoid the loss to a 50 RPI range team in Texas A&M, throwing his top 2 starters. They're going to be matched up with a team with a losing record, Arkansas, Little Rock. Little Rock coming in with a 24-32 record out of the Ohio Valley Conference. So Little Rock 24-32. Another test again for Jay Johnson to see if he'll pitch down and save his 1 and 2 for that marble game and then the clinching game should they advance. Number 3 seed will be the Rhode Island Rams, another one of those East Coast teams coming down. Of course, geographically challenged, but the Rams coming in at 38-20 this year to LSU. And the number 2 seed, the hitting heavy Dallas Baptist team. Dallas Baptist, who has even hosted a couple of times the last 5 years or so. Dallas Baptist trying to get over that hump. They have never been to Omaha, so Dallas Baptist coming to town as the number 2 seed here in Baton Rouge. So, again, it'll be, I'm sure, look, if Jay Johnson pitched Paul Skeens against a team with a losing record as a 1-4 matchup, I don't see where he's going to save Anderson for this one. Me, I'd do it as well. Of course, LSU defeated Dallas Baptist back on a midweek game Wednesday, February 25th in Arlington. That was at Globe Life Field, 7-3. So Dallas Baptist, and that was probably one of the better, the stronger non-conference games that they had this year. The Baton Rouge Regional will, if they advance the Super Regional, will be hooked up with the Clemson Regional. Clemson, the number 11 seed, hosting a regional. Again, get the Cajun Cafe out in right field started for the Clemson Tigers. They advanced all the way to the final. They won some tough games along the way as well. So they'll be matched up with an in-state team. South Carolina Upstate will go to Clemson at 36-23. The Kentucky Wildcats, a team that was on the bubble, they do get in. So that is 13 teams from the SEC that will make it into the field of 64. Some people, I know D1 had them as their first team out. They'll be matched up with the Big 12 regular season champion, the Mountaineers of West Virginia. So West Virginia in Kentucky going to Clemson. So that's a good regional, a very good regional in Clemson. So kind of tough to put out in front. Clemson's kind of was as hot as anybody in the country before they went to Raleigh and got swept in that one, and then kind of flattened out a little bit. They did catch fire a little bit, won 3 games. Keep in mind the ACC format of the conference tournament was exactly the same as the SEC tournament. So with single elimination, they won 3 games all the way to the final, but then they ran out of pitching and they got blasted by the red-hot North Carolina Tar Heels. But the top 4 seeds got the double byes, and Clemson was not a top 4 finisher in the ACC. But they've gotten a little bit better. And Tennessee is the last one, the number 14 seed. They'll be matched up with the Arkansas Razorbacks. So Tennessee, who went to Fayetteville, not too long ago, they lost 2 of 3 in Fayetteville. They'll be matched up the number 4 seed, the MAC champions, the Miami, Ohio Redhawks at 35-21 will go to Knoxville. But Tennessee did enough to get over the hump to host a regional. The number 3 seed is the Cincinnati Bearcats, coming out of the Big 12. Of course, they're now in the Big 12, not the American anymore. And then the number 2 seed that will head to the Knoxville Regional, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons out of the ACC. So that's what we have here. We'll take a time out. We'll rejoin with Charlie again. Don't forget, later in the show, as we continue here from the DraftKings Sportsbook at the Queen Casino. Memorial Day, a lot of people are off. This place is busy. We've got baseball for you. We got some soccer. We got some tennis. We got a little bit of everything. And then tonight we've got more NBA and NHL playoffs as well. Live at lunch, live from the Queen Casino, the DraftKings Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch back here in the studio. They're just going to be real transparent here. The internet's crashed everywhere, and so have our connections, and a lot of these things can no, not really. So okay, well, this is well, it's a tough way to fly, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. Without any of my devices, I'm going to try to give you a little bit of quick reaction to this thing. We thought that LSU would be somewhere in between 5 and 7 here after the conference tournament weekend. The SEC getting 6 teams in was pretty much the chalk. The one thing we went into today not knowing was who would be the number 8 seed, and Oregon State held up with that. The other thing out of the SEC that you were was curious about was, would Kentucky get in with that 13-17 record and a first round exit in the SEC tournament? Would they get in? Yes, they do slide in right there at the end. As far as LSU's draw, this is this is about as good as you can do. When you think about, and this is not anything against the teams coming to Baton Rouge, but what did you, at least when I look at these things, what do I look at? I look at, is there going to be a team from a major conference coming in here with kind of a middle-of-the-road record that has got a big talent base? Oklahoma State, Miami, Wake Forest, teams like that can come in here and just scare the daylights out of you. Now, Dallas Baptist is a really, really good team. LSU saw them back at Globe Life toward the end of February. LSU won that game. It was the top non-conference game on LSU's schedule this year. So that's a good team. But when you think about, obviously you can't send an SEC team here, but the teams that have Oklahoma going to their regional, and you got to look at Kyson Witherspoon. You get a Mississippi State going to your regional. You got to look at a Pico Cone, some of the top arms in the SEC. It was one of the big reasons that I was hoping that LSU would avoid Florida State in a super regional matchup. Not real wild about seeing Jamie Arnold in that situation. So there's always that, this is something we talk about every year, is there that one monster arm, and Dallas Baptist doesn't have a top 10 pick in the draft. I'm sure they've got a very good number one pitcher. And if I had internet access, I could look it up and tell you exactly who that was, but I don't right now. That's a very good, they're always a good offensive team. So you talk about a team with a losing record in the 4-hole in Little Rock. Okay. You could have sent me a 4 seed that maybe was a little bit more daunting than that. There's some 4 seeds. Listen, I tell this story all the time. 2009, LSU's playing Southern on the first day of the tournament, and Southern had them into the 7th inning. Was a really, really close game. So you can't take anybody for granted no matter what their record is. And then I would be lying to you if I told you I knew anything about Rhode Island other than Lamar Odom went to school there and played basketball. That's about that's about it. And then on the other side, Clemson kind of limped to the finish line a little bit in the end of the ACC regular season. That's a really good team. For LSU, the question becomes, what do you do with your pitching? And I think it's pretty transparent. 2 years ago, LSU had the best pitcher in the country in Paul Skeens, and Tulane had a losing record. They were a bid stealer that year, and Jay Johnson chose to throw Paul Skeens. And Johnson had, in my opinion, more options 2 years ago than he does this year. 2 years ago, he could have thrown Ty Floyd. Floyd wasn't, setting the world on fire at the end of the regular season. Everybody remembers what he did in the College World Series, but at the end of the regular season, it's not like he was setting the world on fire. But he could have thrown Floyd. He could have thrown Thatcher Hurd. He could have thrown Riley Cooper, who he trusted to throw in the opening weekend of the season and who would be a mainstay for them in Omaha. And he said, nope, I'm not taking any chances. I'm going with Paul Skeens. He doesn't have that many what you would call reliable options down the road like he did in 2023. You could take a chance. Jaden Newt has thrown really well of late. I was really happy to see him throw in the game on Saturday, and I thought he threw very well. Could you say Jaden Newt go out there and throw 3 or 4 good innings against Little Rock? Absolutely. Could you trust Chase Shores, who was your Sunday starter in the SEC, to go out there and give you 3 or 4 good innings or 5 good innings against Little Rock? Maybe, but Shores has kind of settled into this middle relief role, and I'm not sure I'd want to move him around a whole lot. Who else would you trust at this point? Would you throw a Kason Evans, who hasn't thrown in 2 weeks? He was very good in his first start against Tennessee. The 2 starts after that, he kind of labored through. I don't think you'd want to burn through a Zach Cowan, even though he struggled a little bit in his last couple of outings in your first play. That leaves you with your top 2 guys, with Anderson and Ianson. And if you're looking, you say, well, you want your best pitchers thrown in the most important games. No question. Right now, I trust Ianson just as much as Anderson or more. So if he's going to throw in the marble game, then, all the best. That means that if you throw Anderson out there and you burn him on Friday, but you hopefully, you would think, would save some bullpen. and you'd have all your bullpen guys. And you throw Ianson on Saturday, you got to win that game. That's the marble game. You don't win that game, you better pack a lunch because it's going to be a long day Sunday and Monday. So you win that game. And then hopefully you have your top bullpen guys to finish that out. You can't expect Ianson to go out and give you 9 innings. You hope, hey, man, get me into the 7th, and you've done your job. So then you got Cowan, Evans, Shores, et cetera, to get you through that. You get to Sunday, and you're like, well, who will you start? Well, all those same guys we just talked about. But now you're into whoever comes through this. You're deep into their pitching. So if you got to go win a 14-10 game, then, so be it. You throw the guys you got left. Here's the bigger issue for LSU is not who to throw. They got enough pitching. They've pitched well enough. They got enough guys. They're not hitting. They are not hitting nearly as well as you would like to see them hit at this point in the season. That's both games of the SEC tournament. That's really the South Carolina series. They've got some guys struggling. Curiel, since the Texas A&M series, has really struggled at the plate. That's the bigger issue. Way more than who's pitching is, are you going to be able to hit? Are you going to be able to put up the offensive numbers that you need to beat these really good teams? Because Dallas Baptist can score. I mean, that's what they do. So you're hitting, to me, is as big of an issue as anything. Now you get to the box. I've seen this happen a bunch of times. You get to the box. You got a full house. The postseason there. You've got warm weather. Probably the wind blowing out, and you can get it going in a hurry. I'm just thinking that Little Rock will be the worst pitching staff that they have faced in quite some time. So you can't go out and hit those guys. Then God bless. You don't probably have a whole lot of hope to advance very far in the tournament. So that's what you are charged with, is getting through to that marble game, and then the offense has got to come through. You can only expect Anderson and Ianson to do so much, and then. Hey, after that, you gotta hit at some point in the postseason. We're brought to you by the Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. We're inside of a month of Father's Day. Tons of great gift ideas for Dad. The custom-made Cypress furniture, all the different grills and griddles, the crawfish and jambalaya pots, the big green egg cookers, and tons of tools. Power tools, hand tools, any of those things that Dad might like, you'll be able to get them at the Thibodeau Store. A lot of them are available on the website for free delivery. That includes the Cajun cookware. You have those delivered free to you. It's doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. Again, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and their sister property, the Pierre Part Store in Pierre Part. Online, it's doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. Great ideas for Father's Day. If you're getting your property back here for the summer, lots of different things that you can get there. All of your topsoil, all of your fertilizers, all of your garden tools as well. Again, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and online, doitbest.com/Thibodeau Store. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's our 2025 NCAA baseball tournament selection show. Will be on till 1 o'clock. Nolan Kane with us live from Austin, Texas. Texas with the number 2 national seed. Vandy, the number 1 seed. LSU is the number 6. 6 of the 8 national seeds from the SEC, and coming into town here to LSU will be Little Rock, Dallas Baptist, and also Rhode Island. Let's bring in Todd Walker right now. Todd, thanks for coming on with us today. You've seen the field of 64 now, and initial impressions of the field.
Well, Vanderbilt certainly had a run here at the end that made them the number 1 overall seed. They kind of snuck up on me. The offense wasn't great for the first half of the year, but it's definitely been great the second half. J.D. Thompson is a real ace for them. Sawyer Hawks, they can pull out of the pen and put him in any situation. He's a legitimate closer in the ninth. He can also give you length in the middle of the order. And they're just playing as good as anybody in the country right now. They just won the SEC tournament. So I think Vanderbilt was a little bit of a shock. But the top 8 national seeds, I kind of saw that playing out. I thought Alabama may host. I thought Georgia Tech may host. They are not. But it's a great field, as it always is. And, we all know that the SEC has won 6 out of the last 7 national championships, and Arkansas was in the final in 2018. So if you include Arkansas, that's 7 different teams that were in the finals of the College World Series, 6 of them won. So the parity in the league is at an all-time high. The talent's there, and I'm looking forward to the SEC winning another national championship.
Todd, am I reading you right? Did you thought that maybe Texas would get that number 1 overall national seed? Winning, over a 30-game sample size, winning by multiple games the regular season championship, and how much weighed in that they've lost their ace and they have kind of tapered off, and they're not going to have him for this run in postseason.
When they came into the SEC tournament, it was definitely their number 1 to lose. And, of course, they lose the first game, although it could have gone either way. That was a battle between Texas and Tennessee in the SEC tournament. They lost Jared Spencer, and you're right. So if your number 2 was supposed to be your number 1, he would have been a number 1 to begin with. So once you lose your ace, everybody steps up in the rotation. They've still done a fantastic job. Jim Schlossnagle in his first year, they win the league. So when you're talking about 16 teams within a league, and you're the number 1 team, that's pretty impressive. Texas is still one of the best in the country. They're going to host both a regional and a super regional. So I don't think it really matters whether you're number 1, number 2, number 3, all the way to number 8. Because if you can host a super regional, as the top 8 national seeds will, that's the important part. And I think if you're 1 through 8, it really doesn't matter. Texas is the 2. My son Jackson is playing for Houston Christian. They have to go to that regional, so I know how tough that's going to be.
Yeah, there you go. I was a little surprised that they didn't go with Texas as the number 1 overall national seed. How about the selection committee as a whole, though? A little bit different process than the basketball committee. The head of the chair of the committee was the North Carolina AD in basketball, and they were a highly controversial last team to get in. J.R. Teague is the athletic director for Southeastern Louisiana. SLU, the Lions, are the last team out of this tournament. I mean, that is as tough as it gets with a 54 RPI. One team that we had on the bubble was Kentucky. They weren't. They weren't even one of the last 4 in. The last 4 in were Arizona State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and USC.
Shows you the power of the league in the SEC. We had 11 teams get in. Without Texas and Oklahoma being part of the SEC last year, 11 teams last year was a record. This year we get 13 teams in of the 16. And Kentucky was well deserving of that. They swept Oklahoma. They had some good wins against Tennessee. Nick Mingione, as you know, does a fantastic job there at Kentucky. He's the 2-time National Coach of the Year 2017, and again last year in 2024 when they made it to Omaha for the first time in program history. Kentucky can steal a lot of bases. They're going to bunch you around. They can bunt throughout the lineup. They've got the all-time active strikeout leader on that staff. Of course, he's been in college for 7 years, Nick McKay. But they're solid. I mean, once you get here, it's a whole new season, and anybody is capable of rolling out a couple wins. It's 2 losses and you're out. So you got to play well, and you got to play well quickly.
We're talking to Todd Walker again, his breakdown of the field of 64, LSU, the number 6 national seed. Again, they'll be matched up with the number 11 team regional. Clemson, they've got an interesting regional in South Carolina as well. But let's talk about LSU. And this is so tricky to try and it's just a strange deal. I think it's pretty clear that Jay Johnson, with his pitching decisions to go all in, was like, all right, we're trying to protect this national seed. A loss to a 50 range RPI team may damage this. Let's go all in with Anderson and Ianson in that one, and then we'll just figure it out the rest of the way. And it played out as it seemed like he was what he expected.
Well, like I said, whether you're 1 or 6 as a national seed, doesn't matter. You get to host a regional, and if you win that, you get to host a super regional. Jay Johnson has 2 aces now. Anthony Ianson has moved himself into the conversation of a 1B. So you got a 1A and a 1B. And the reason that's important is because you don't have to make this incredible decision on who you pitch in game 1 against the number 4 seed in the regional. But Jay Johnson has a history of just throwing his ace. Remember Paul Skeens threw against Spain in the open. Regional. People thought that might have been a mistake. Of course, they win the national championship that same year. But now you can throw Anthony Ianson or Kate Anderson. It really doesn't matter. Both of those guys give you a real good chance of winning that baseball game. And then whoever doesn't pitch game 1 can go game 2 And in most cases, you're going to win both of those games. So then you're sitting 2-0 in a regional. So it's going to be difficult. It's not easy. It's baseball. But if they play like they're capable, LSU should win this regional and get the host for the Super.
Hey, Todd, we thought that, okay, this conversation is over when Johnson decided to use Skeens against Tulane, who had a losing record, who their RPI coming into that postseason was 158. You got another one here because Little Rock is not impressive. They finished 8th in a 10-team Ohio Valley League. They're 5th in team ERA, 9th, second to last in batting average. They finished 8 and 16 in overall play and an RPI of 243. So, man, I wouldn't. I disagreed with it 2 years ago, but he's going to have to make another decision. You think? I guess if he used Skeens, I guess he'll use Anderson here against Little Rock, but I'm not sure.
He'll use one of the two, Anthony Ianson or Anderson. But that's why I'm saying either way, you feel comfortable with those guys pitching, and you don't feel like you lose anything for game 2. So it's not going to matter. Now, look, on paper, clearly they should beat Little Rock. But that's not how the game is played. If Little Rock just throws strike and our offense pulls an Auburn, where they don't hit very well or they hit it right at them and you have a bad luck game, and then Little Rock on the other side hits 6 seeing-eye grounders, gets a couple walks, LSU kicks a ball or two. That's how baseball is played, and you never really can predict it. And it's the best 64 teams in the country. So you're right. On paper, Little Rock is not a tough matchup, but you never know how this plays out. You just got to go all in. But again, the good news for LSU, they've got at least 2 good arms and more in the bullpen with Casey Evans and Zach Talon. I'm a little concerned that they didn't throw in the SEC tournament, so now they've had about 2 weeks off. But they're going to be fine. They've got plenty of arms to get this thing done.
Who do you like moving forward to make a deep run?
Arkansas is the most complete team. They're the only team in the conference that are top 4 in all 3 major categories, which is pitching, defense, and offense. And when you're talking about numbers within the SEC, that's pretty impressive. They got the MVP of the league playing shortstop for them, and Vahiba Aloy. 1 through 9, Arkansas can throw 300 hitters at you. They bash a lot of home runs. We know at Baum Walker Stadium. They are also going to be playing not only a regional, but a super regional at home all the way to Omaha. Dave Van Horn, in his 24th year, I believe, has never won the national championship, but he's taken Arkansas to Omaha 7 times. So there is no more experienced coach in the league than Dave Van Horn, and more deserving. I like Arkansas. They're the most complete team, but they're not the most top-heavy team. LSU's top-heavy. Texas, I would say, is more top-heavy. And that might matter more in a 2 out of 3 game series. So we'll see how it plays out. I really like Arkansas to make a deep run, but what do we have? 6 of the top 8 national seeds. Weird thing is, of the 6 that made the top 8, 6 best teams in the country, 4 of them got beat in the first game in the SEC tournament. So it shows you the parity of the SEC. It shows you how tough this game really is, and we'll see how it plays out. But I would say, and by the way, another stat for you, since 2017, the top 8 national seeds, one of the teams has won the national championship every year since Florida won it in 2017, except for 2022 when Ole Miss was the last team in, and they made that magical run. But generally, you can look at the top 8 and figure out who's going to win the national championship.
Todd, how much do you know about this Dallas Baptist program? Because they seem like they've been knocking on the door now for 10 or so years. They've never made it to Omaha, but they've hosted a couple of times. They've advanced to a super at least once. I don't have it all in front of me, but they are no stranger to people that follow college baseball, but they just kind of can't seem to get over that hump. And the one thing about them is looking at their stats initially, too, seems like they've always got loaded. They got some sticks, but they're very light with the arms.
Yeah, they're offensive, and they've been around. So to your point, I think anytime you have a team that's consistently been in the postseason and have solid years, not that it's the same kids year in and year out, but just the prestige of the program, they're going to be competitive. I don't know a lot about them. I've been locked down on the SEC all year long. But you always worry about the 2 seeds because they're dangerous. And just the scenario I told you earlier, you have a game where you don't throw strikes, you walk 3 or 4 guys, you kick the ball around, your offense lines out a few times and has some bad luck. A team like Dallas Baptist can beat you.
Rhode Island seems to have similar stats as they come into Baton Rouge as well. The guy that just really stands out to you. A 1243 OPS, that's pretty damn good, huh? And he's got 21 stolen bases, and Anthony DePino from Rhode Island.
Yeah, but then you look at the competition, right? So I mean, it's kind of the deal where he's not gonna put up that OPS against Cade Anderson. I can promise you that. Great pitching beats great hitting. Good pitching beats good hitting, and on down the line, LSU's got some of the best, especially the 1-2 punch for LSU is as good as it gets in the country. And again, the main thing I keep looking back to is Jay really doesn't have to make a tough decision on who to start in game one, whether it's Ianson or whether it's Anderson. Game two, you got a similar player, the 1A and 1B in that rotation. And I don't know that their bullpen has been set up as good as it has in the past. This year, they've got one of the best bullpen setups. Jay's got 5 or 6 different options that I think he trusts and can throw out there in any given moment. So LSU set up really well for this run.
There we go. Todd, we appreciate it, man. We know you're busy, especially on this holiday, but we wanted to get your expertise and the initial thoughts on this bracket. Where they got you broadcasting for postseason?
So we just found out where the top 16 will be hosting. I don't know yet. They'll give us our assignments tomorrow. I'm driving back as we speak from Hoover back to Louisiana. So I got a lot of time to think about, where I might end up. But, Arkansas is a possibility. My son is playing in the Texas Regional, so I don't know that they'll give me that assignment. They feel like it's a little bit of a conflict of interest, which is I totally understand. Yeah. It'd be cool to be there, but I'll be watching on TV. But there's some Southern Miss is hosting Baton Rouge. So anywhere you go, this is the great time of year, man. Some great baseball. I love being at the ballpark, having baseball conversations with guys that I haven't seen in a long time. A lot of these coaches have been around, and so it's fun to see them again.
Todd, drive safely, my man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, that's Todd Walker. Break it down. And talking about the strength of the regionals, we did pick up some different breakdowns. And these are these are analytical stats, but they did judge the 3 hardest regionals as Oxford, Tallahassee, and Hattiesburg. Now, Hattiesburg is the last team. Southern Miss is the last team to host, but with Alabama and Miami coming in there, and then the Ivy League, Columbia. That is one that, any 3, I would not be surprised if Alabama, Southern Miss, or Miami comes out of that Hattiesburg regional. The Tallahassee regional has Mississippi State, Northeastern. Northeastern is one of those wild cards. They are respected, but they're playing in a geographically challenged area as well. And to Todd's point about the kid Anthony DePino from Rhode Island, is Northeastern, do they have some inflated stats because of their lack of competition? And Florida State has been really, really good throughout the ACC season. Again, in Oxford, Georgia Tech is the ACC regular season champion. I mean, that says enough right there. The coach, I believe it's his last season, so he's just playing it out. This is sort of his farewell song and his farewell tour up in Atlanta. So with teams like Florida State and North Carolina who have stronger resumes and stronger seeds, Florida State's the number 9 national seed. In North Carolina, the number 5. It was still Georgia Tech who won that conference. It beat them. Clemson was the 11, also out of the ACC, but Georgia Tech won that one. I think they avoided all 3 of those in regular season play. So it is a little bit of that side of the story. Western Kentucky and Murray State also in Oxford. But the easiest regionals, the 2 in Auburn, according to these advanced stats, has the easiest regional. The second easiest, according to the advanced stats we've looked at, is right here in Baton Rouge. So there we go. So I'm sure Charlie will weigh in on his thoughts again. I guess if you're going to use Skeens, and I think it's a tougher decision maybe than Todd thinks, but I guess if you've made that decision in the past already to use Skeens against a team with a losing record, you're going to do it as well. But this, again, by comparison, that Tulane team 2 years ago had a 158 RPI. This Little Rock team, 243. Don't forget that Live at Lunch is brought to you in part by our friends over at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds of Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060, full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional service is what you get when you dial 296-0060. Charlie will take the next segment. Nolan Kane at the bottom of the hour as we continue our NCAA Baseball Tournament Selection Show right here. Live at Lunch, live at the Queen Casino and the DraftKings Sportsbook on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch.
This is Charles Henniger for Total Maintenance for AC and heating, generators, electricity, and plumbing. Total Maintenance is your one-stop sales and service shop for all of these needs. Service today, every day. That's their slogan at Total Maintenance, so nobody ever has to go to sleep hot. Over the years, Total Maintenance has expanded into the New Orleans area, as well as their offices in Baton Rouge with full staffs in both markets. Call 480-1000 in Baton Rouge or in New Orleans, 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And we return here in studio. Jimmy and Max out at the Queen today as the NCAA Field of 64 is announced. LSU will play Little Rock on Friday, and that game time now has been announced as 2 p.m. So I'm sitting here talking to Jordan, and he's like, 2 o'clock? Man, it's going to be hot. That's kind of the whole idea. LSU, as the host school, has the option of playing the first game or the second game on the first day. Every host school does. LSU, for the most part over the years, has played the first game. There's a few years where they've played the second game, but most of the time they played the first game. There's two reasons for this as you get ready to go sweat out at the box on Friday. Number one is there is a greater turnaround time to your game two, whether you win or lose, and LSU certainly expects to win. So you're going to have it protects you if you were happen to lose the game, because then you're at the box that night. You turn around, you play the first game the next day. It's a quick turnaround. So if you would happen to lose, but even if you win, you can go, you can relax, you can get off your feet, you can continue to hydrate and wait through two more games before you have to play again the second game on Saturday. So the first reason from a baseball standpoint is more recoup time. The second reason, which this used to be a lot bigger deal than it is now before there was TV money, is there's a financial component to it. As Skip used to say, ooh, you see, we can fill the box, doesn't matter what time we play. But the second game is a lot better attended if it's at night, okay? Or you're an LSU fan, okay? Are you going to go out and watch Dallas Baptist and Rhode Island at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Are you gonna rearrange your work schedule to go? Absolutely not. If LSU's playing, well, you're gonna do all that. But if you are at a tailgate or you're just hanging out, you're in Baton Rouge for the whole weekend, you're from out of town. Hey, look, it's Friday night at 6 o'clock. LSU's already won the game. We going to the tailgate. We had something to eat. We had a beer. Let's go watch 3 innings. That's the second reason. Like I said, this used to be a much bigger deal when LSU had to bid on a regional and, produce the cash afterwards. But it still kind of factors in a little bit. But the recoup time is the much bigger issue. So that's why LSU is playing at 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And the other part of the baseball thing is, even if this would have been a lot better to explain if they'd been playing Central Connecticut State, but even for Little Rock, who is significantly further north than this, it's hot, man. The humidity, the heat at the box, it will take it out of you. And LSU's used to that. Wouldn't be surprised if they're practicing all the way into maybe Wednesday at that time of day. And everybody else that comes in here, you got to deal with the heat, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So that's why that's the way the 2 o'clock starts have worked over the years. As far as the pitching, we kind of went through that a little bit already. It's very tempting to pitch down here. Would you bring back Jaden Newt on 5 days rest? He would be right after Anderson and Ianson. Newt's the next starter that I trust the most. If there's a big if, I plan on keeping Evans in the bullpen, okay? If I'm planning on keeping Case and Evans in the bullpen, then Newt's my next best guy. I would, you say Shores. Shores is really, over the last 5 or 6 outings, really settled in nicely coming out of the bullpen, pitching out of stretch. I would probably leave that alone. You've seen him as a starter. It didn't go as well. And I'm not going to move, I don't think, Zach Cowan at this point. So if you want to bring Newt back on 5 days, are they going to do it? Probably not, based on the past history. Johnson had some decisions to make in this SEC tournament, and we kind of talked about it a little bit on Friday night via social media and all that stuff, bringing Ianson in for the first game. So here was my take, because I wasn't wild about the move. The first thing is you bring in your next best pitcher, you secure a win, which means that you're not going to take the RPI drop, and you assure Ianson some work. Okay, none of that's bad. That's all good, and I appreciate that. Here's why I would have maybe played it a little bit differently, and this is just kind of devil's advocate stuff. You bring in Anthony Ianson and you win the game. You didn't learn anything about anybody else in your bullpen at that point. You know what Ianson is, okay? You know he's going to come in and he's going to shut it down, and he's been great this year. And in the second half of the season, he's been off the top of great. So if you go in another direction there, if you bring in a Chase Shores in a high leverage situation, you bring back Zach Cowan, whose last few outings have been a little bit shaky, you learn a little bit more. But it doesn't come without risk. Maybe you lose the game. If you lose the game, do you lose the top 8 national seed? I didn't think so. I still don't think so. But I don't know that for sure. And if you lose that game, you also don't get Ianson back out there for some game work. That bothers me less. If they had lost that game, they come back to Baton Rouge, they're going to run a simulated game probably on Saturday. Ianson's going to throw his 50, 60 pitches, whatever. I ain't worried about him. So that was my only thing on Friday night, was you have an opportunity to maybe learn something else a little bit. You get Cowan back on the horse. You get Shores back out there. Now, they were able, after the win, to get Shores out there on Saturday, so it didn't matter. And I thought Shores looked pretty good. I really liked what I saw out of Newt on Saturday. The splitter is a swing and miss pitch. So he had that thing going on Saturday. He did give up the one homer early, but besides that, man, I thought he looked really, really good. And what do those two guys have in common, Newt and Shores? We've been kind of saying this since really the beginning of the season. They're both coming off of major surgeries. Now, they're into the second year of that, but you just need to pitch. Doug Thompson, with us on the podcast that you can get on YouTube, the Handycast, he said this: look, when you come back from that surgery, you got to pitch. There's no substitute for it, and you can't rush it. So for Shores and Newt, both 2 years removed from the Tommy John, the only thing that's going to get you back to that elite level that both of these guys were at. Newt was a top pitcher in California coming out of high school. Shores is 6'8". He throws 100 miles an hour. The only thing was going to be to build up the innings count. And you can't do that in March. You can't do that until you have gotten to this point in the season. So right now, I feel real good about either one of those guys pitching in a high leverage situation. That was my only point on Friday night. Anthony Ianson's pitched in as many high level leverage situations as you can get this year. I mean, when you're pitching complete games and winning 1-run games, that's about as high leverage as it gets. As it turned out, they got Shores some more work. They got the top 8 national seed. Everybody's happy. Tell you who the happiest person is today. And it's not Jay Johnson. It's not any of the. It's Hunt Palmer, because Hunt Palmer was able to unfollow Hawaii baseball on X just a little while ago. As soon as the top 8 national seed, he was able to unfollow him. I've been giving Hunt grief about it because he's been worried about Oregon State's Q1 wins, and Hawaii was, I think, three of them. Well, Hawaii did well. They got all the way, I think, to the finals of their tournament. So those Q1 wins held. As it turned out, it didn't hurt LSU. So Hunt Palmer will be able to get a good night's sleep. Won't have to stay up very late watching Hawaii baseball. Nolan Kane going to join us when we come back. This is Live at Lunch. We're also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, because when it comes to retirement, no two situations are alike. Coastal Capital Advisors, no matter your age or financial situation, make a plan that is perfect for you, get you to all of your financial goals. They'll talk with you. They'll work through that plan, and they'll be able to set you up. They'll ease a lot of your fears about retirement. I know that they've certainly done that for me. Online is coastalcapital.adv.com. Member FINRA SIPC. Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch. Live at Lunch with Otten Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, back over here at the Queen Casino DraftKings Sportsbook. And again, our special NCAA selection show broadcast that we're having for you. 6 of the 8 top national seeds from the SEC. And let's go to one of those sites right now to Austin, Texas, talk to former LSU pitcher and coach, Mr. Nolan Cain, who takes away from his busy schedule. Nolan, how you doing, buddy? Congratulations on a great season, regular season champs.
Yeah, doing great. Just took it in and watched the show with our team. And, you know, it's always that special time of the year as a person that played college baseball and now been coaching it. It's just awesome to see all the hard work of your team and then the other teams in our league and across the country, you know, get recognized on ESPN.
You know, Nolan, we had confidence that Coach Slosh and you guys would have success. We didn't know if it was going to be this much this soon. So, you know, in this league, it's a pretty tough league. I mean, what's been the key to the success where you win this conference by multiple games?
Yeah, I think when we got here, there was a real group, a core group of players that were highly touted out of high school or were having good careers at the University of Texas. You know, our catcher, Rylan Galvan, our shortstop, Jalen Flores, a handful of pitchers, a few of them that were dinged up last year, and we've gotten those guys healthy, and they've gone up there and chewed, you know, ton of innings for us. And, you know, we were able to get in the portal. It was a little late when we got here, but we got a couple of good pieces out of the portal that have helped as well. But, you know, I think a lot of people have asked me that question, and, you know, being at LSU, playing there and coaching there, like there's a group of kids out there, those Louisiana kids where, like, man, dude, like playing at LSU is like playing for the Yankees. And that's the same way it is here. There are kids that grow up in Texas or anywhere in the country like that. Texas is 100% their dream school. So you get that, like that culture, that fabric in your program where kids just play better than maybe their actual talent is, right? And they exceed expectations, and it means something. They show up every single day, whether that's a practice or a game. And, you know, Coach Schlossnagel has a little term here called win, like what's important now. So, like, whatever we're doing in that practice, whatever we're doing that particular day, like whatever we're doing, that's the most important thing because we're doing it right now. And these guys have stayed present, and this is a little coachy, but have gone pitch to pitch and truly tried to win every pitch of every game. And I think that's why you see, you know, we're at the top of the league in pitching, but, you know, our offense is the bottom half, and we're really good defensively, but I think that's why you've seen us, like, exceed the expectations of people thought we were going to finish 8th or 9th, and we finished first. And, you know, Coach Schlossnagel is amazing our first year at A&M. We were voted to finish last, and we finished in second. So he knows what he's doing, and he's a great guy to work for and great guy to learn from.
You know, Nolan, I have to ask, though, also part, you know, coming over from Texas A&M, one win away from winning the whole thing last year, and, you know, them having that preseason ranking at number 1 and not even making the tournament. Your former stop, I mean, what did you see that maybe caused, you know, them to fall so short of expectations?
I think the biggest thing is just the injuries that happened right off the bat, right? Like, you lose Gavin Grahovic, who's going to be a top 30 pick. You lose that guy, you know, 3rd or 4th game of the year. You know, Sorrell doesn't play the first 6 weeks of the year. He ended up with 13 homers, and he barely played half the season. And then he got hurt again. And then, you know, LaViolette, you know, with those guys out, you know, there's not a ton of protection for LaViolette. You know, and then at the end of the year, everybody saw that, ends up breaking his hand and having surgery and, you know, coming back and playing the next day. They had 3 really good starting pitchers, and they eventually figured out the bullpen. You know, I think it's just a real reminder this league's freaking hard, man. Like, it's the league of unforgiveness. You get a couple of injuries, people smell blood in the water, they go for throats. And it's just so competitive. Everybody's got such good players. I think these days it's, you know, when are you playing somebody? How do you match up against somebody? And, you know, what's the overall health and depth of your team? You know, that those teams that have the depth that can withstand the injuries are always the ones that seem to be last man standing. You know, you see that with Florida. They start 1-11, come back and have a heck of a second half of the SEC and end up being a 2 seed, right? Like Kevin O'Sullivan can coach. He's been doing it for a long time. So, yeah, it's just an impressive league, man. The coaches that are in this league, the assistant coaches that are in this league, the players that are in this league, it's that time of year where you're like, thank God we get to play somebody else.
Well, you guys have your own injury that has certainly impacted your team this year, losing your ace on the mound for the season, and you had an injury last year that with the Aggies, and a big injury, and still made it to the championship series. And how is the team handling losing an impact guy like your ace?
Yeah, it was very difficult. He wasn't just our Friday night guy. He was also kind of him, along with like 3 or 4 other guys. Like they're the heartbeat of that pitching staff, and great leadership qualities and mentorship of the younger players. And when he got pulled out of that game, nobody knew exactly how serious it was. And then a week later, he's in a sling, and that really did take a toll just on the mentality of our team, just because like our guys love Jared Spencer that much, and I think that was tough to see. But it's, coachy again, but it's next man up. We moved Ruger Riojas. He was one of our main bullpen arms. We put him into a starting role. Luke Harrison, who was our Sunday guy, is now our Saturday guy. He's got a top 10 ERA in the SEC. Goes out there, throws 5 pitches in the zone for strikes. Doesn't punch a ton of people out, but doesn't walk a lot of people, gives us an opportunity to win. And then on Sunday, we just ended up playing the matchup game, right? Like we started Jason Flores. You saw at the SEC tournament, we started a kind of a crossfire bullpen arm and left-handed arm, and Ethan Walker, who went out there and gave us 4 scoreless against Tennessee. So we've got options. It's just going to be more of a mix and match game, and kind of what like the data and the analytics tell us on who matches up good against who. That'll probably be, along with Coach Schlossnagel's gut, that'll probably be kind of what we follow from here on out.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from the Queen Casino on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Battling through some technical difficulties. Somebody telling us to take a damn holiday off, Andy.
I think yes, exactly. It's a sign.
Let's get back to our guests. Nolan's been so patient with us. Nolan, let's get to your field, man. And we've even noticed as well, the Roadrunners from Texas San Antonio, they dominated their conference this year. Now there was a bin stealer last night or yesterday between East Carolina and Tulane, but Texas San Antonio is a capable team with a top 25 RPI.
Yeah, Coach Hallmark, he was at Rice with Wayne Graham forever, so he's got a lot of baseball knowledge. One of if not the best mid-major head coach in the country. He's been doing a great job at UTSA for a long time, and been doing it, at a place where you've got less, right? Less resources, less strength and conditioning, less nutrition. He's done a great job. They have a really awesome team. We played them earlier in the year in the midweek, and they beat us. They rolled out their Friday and Saturday guys to close out the games, and those guys were absolutely electric. He's got a good bullpen, and then they've done a good job, recruiting and developing their own players, and they hit on a couple of players out of the portal, position players as well. Their center fielder Mason Lytle, a transfer from Oregon, I think he's hitting close to 400. Right-handed hitter, can really run, tough, gritty out. Those guys know how to play baseball, and they're really well coached. So we're familiar with them, and we'll be prepared.
No, Charles Hannegrove, good to talk to you again.
What's up, brother?
Been a minute. Tell me about when Jared Spencer went down and you guys moved Ruger Riojas from the 3-hole to that Friday night role. Just the adjustment that not only he had to make, but how that affected your entire staff.
Yeah, number one, everybody gets pushed up a role, and it's not like when your second best reliever or your Sunday guy gets hurt, right? It's your Friday night guy. So everybody's making a jump up the ladder, and they're massive jumps, right? And Ruger had made that. We had started him the week before, he just matched up really good on that Sunday, so we had started him. And then when we knew that Jared Spencer was going to miss his next start, we only threw him 40 pitches on Sunday so we could bring him back on Thursday against Arkansas. And, he's just real soggy up there, got hit pretty hard. He's made the adjustments, but it's been more of just like the recovery on his body, just trying to get him back acclimated. That's why we didn't throw him at the SEC tournament. He's a really twitchy, athletic kid, but he only weighs like 185 pounds. So it's just hard for him to withstand everything. So that's why giving him that break at the SEC tournament was so big. He's a huge competitor. He's got 5 pitches. When he's at his best, they're all in the zone. He probably only throws about 35% fastballs, and he throws 92 to 95. So he can really pitch and move the baseball around. And when he's feeling good and when he's healthy, he's a guy that can easily go out there and chew you up 7 innings. And that really sets the stage for the rest of the weekend, right? So, Luke Harrison's a left-hand pitcher with good stuff, but he's not a guy that's going to go punch out 10 a game. He's going to rely on our defense, pitch-to-contact type of guy. And then we've got some real weapons in the bullpen, especially with our all-SEC freshman Dylan Fulantis, broke the SEC record for saves with 12 this year. So if we can get the ball in his hands, we always feel pretty good.
He's too tall. Okay, he's too tall. You can't have 6'6" guys throwing like that. It's not even fair.
Hey, Nolan, another team from your state that you're in now, Dallas Baptist. They seem to like another team. It's no surprise that they're in this field. There's no surprise they got a top 25 RPI, number 20, but just haven't been in Omaha, just kind of knocking on the door a lot, and they always seem to be heavy with the bats and not so much in the mound.
Yeah, they're definitely usually have guys with stuff. They're trying to punch tickets and hit homers, right? And that really plays out their ballpark up there in Dallas. I've been there numerous times to recruit high school stuff, and the ball really hops. And their head coach is great human being. If there's a better human being in college baseball, I'd have to probably meet him. Great person. He's got a great staff. Cliff Pennington, who played at A&M and played in the big leagues for 10 years, is their recruiting coordinator and helps out with the hitting as well and does the infield. So they're well coached, and they have good players. Like, they've done an amazing job in this state. And they go head-to-head with Texas A&M, TCU for the big boys, and they'll win out in the recruiting occasionally. They do an amazing job. I think you guys are familiar with them. I want to say y'all played them in like a tournament earlier in the year, but yeah, they've got some real players, some real hitters, and if you make mistakes, they're going to hammer it and they're going to let you know about it. So that would be an interesting matchup for sure.
Nolan, we appreciate the time. Good luck to you guys in the tournament. May see you down the road somewhere. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nolan.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and great catching up with you too. Miss you guys a lot.
All right. Yes, indeed. Nolan, good luck to you, brother. We appreciate you taking time on a busy day, without a doubt. I'm a little surprised, but I think that's, they're 4-5. And no, actually, no, they didn't have him for the A&M series. And when they won all 3, yeah. Rio Haas, remember, started that Friday night game. Yeah. And was really, really good. And then when they went to Arkansas, so they were 7-5 in conference play. After they lost him.
I think
so. They got to 19-2, yeah. But they had that they did not have him for the A&M series, which they swept all 3 games by 1. So they're not as good. Vandy, I mean, we talked about the Missouri thing all year. I mean, it's got to be factored in, and I mean that they're number 1 RPI. So a little bit of that.
I think that was the difference, Jimmy. That Texas played Missouri and Vanderbilt didn't need to play Missouri or South Carolina. I think that was they each had 22 SEC wins. The difference was that Texas played Missouri and Vandy.
Yeah, 3 of those wins are against Missouri, which
and that's going to ding you just a little bit. And I think that was the difference.
Nothing from Johnson yet on this because Arkansas. I mean, Little Rock is not as good as Tulane was.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
He's talking right now. So
did you hear us?
I haven't.
Did you hear us breaking it down?
Yes, I did.
I mean, finished 8th in a 10-team league at 8-16. Fifth in ERA in the league, second to last in batting average in the league.
Tulane had a losing record. Skeens through. I mean,
they're 158. Little Rock is 243.
He had better options in 23 if Skeens didn't throw than I think what he has now.
Okay, so that's just my best
guess.
It's
look. I could bring Newt back on 5 days. I'd feel pretty good about that. I saw that splitter on Saturday against Ole Miss. It looked pretty doggone good. But that's how Johnson played it the last time. That's what we got to go on until he says something, which probably won't be until later in the week.
LSU matched up with Clemson.
I haven't seen Clemson. They sort of limped to the finish line at the end of the regular season. That's a really good program and a really good league.
They were really, really strong, and in about the last month and a half, they've been pretty average. They did make a little run, and then finally ran out because North Carolina was a little bit more rested on the mound than they were with the double bye. Same format as the SEC tournament, single elimination, 16-team league, top 4 teams with a double bye. But
they had lost 3 straight series before they beat Pittsburgh in the last week of the regular
season.
And they got on a run in the
Would you rather Clemson than Ole Miss or Oregon?
I would definitely rather Clemson than Ole Miss. Oregon's such a great unknown because in the Big Ten, the level of competition is so bad. They played 10 games against Q1 competition. They won 9 of them, but that's half of what you would get.
I watched Oregon. They didn't win it. We're surprised they gave up the most. I thought they're looking at the plate, though. They got some guys, some good-looking athletes, some big, some strength. So
I wouldn't be going out of my way to see Hunter Elliott right now for Ole Miss the way he's pitching. So I know Clemson's got good guys.
That's true as well. So we want to thank our friends over here at the Queen. Jordan back in studio with all of the technical issues. We'll be back tomorrow at Doe's Eat Place for Live at Lunch, live from the Queen Casino, the DraftKings Sportsbook, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch.